Assalamu alaikum. Your heart still pounds, doesn't it, when you come here? But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, let me start with a small story, and let me set the context right on what I'm trying to tell you. It might get a little complex. Once upon a time, I love these once upon a time stories, but once upon a time, there was an old town. And the old town was once pretty successful, but then it actually was then doing economically really bad, and it went and slipped into a recession. And in the old town, there was one luxury car showroom, and it only had one car on display. And one day, a very rich businessman, while he was traveling down the town, he loved the car because he was a passionate collector. He loved cars. And he decided to actually go and buy them, but he was not ready. So what he does, he actually goes to the owner of the car, of the showroom, and tells him, listen, I don't have the money right now, but take this token advance and please reserve it for me. And the owner of the town, of the showroom, was delighted because obviously the town was going through bad times. He said, that's fantastic. And he said, let me invite one of the best architects in the town so that I could actually renovate my entire store. Pretty interesting. And then when he wanted to do so, he said, let me get the best engineer in town so that I can ask him to start developing and reconstructing my showroom. And the best part was, the person who was an engineer, he said, oh, this is something nice. Let me get the best staff so that I can actually start and ask them to start making and reconstructing the showroom. And he said, you know what, because they're doing such a hard work, let me also provide them some food and some medical. Now what really happened was, it started triggering something, and something very different and beautiful. People actually started working. And then the town started reviving a little slowly, and then the message went to many, many miles, and people were pretty astonished on the sort of change that they saw in the town, and it started attracting tourists. Very interesting. The best part was, or the irony of the story was, that the businessman could not come and buy the car, but eventually the owner was able to sell. But one thing really happened well was the town was revived, and there was a little change in the economy, and it was going upwards. Now, can I ask all of you a question? Why do you think this happened? And it's a very interesting question. And the reason is, it's because of the power of passion. And it's a little complicated. So what I'm trying to do is I'm going to make it I'm trying to connect the context here, because it's the power of passion, and what drives the power of passion is the power of sentiments. And believe me, when people are connected here, right, things change. So how many of us believe, let's talk about the sentiments today in reality, around the world, here. I don't know whether it's going to look good, but then this is what it is, right? Retailers are almost shutting down on a record pace. I mean, I have very good friends, and they tell me that, listen, we are bleeding, we don't have customers, and I've spent $500,000 riyals, but it's still difficult. Businesses are down 25 to 40%. Believe me, it's painful. It's difficult. And obviously, when all the businesses are there are just too many of them. It's cluttered and it's competitive. And you know what? This era is looking also into something very interesting. We all are witnessing something drastic. There's something that's actually going through an extinction. Do you know what it is? I'm sure you know this. The print media, which was always with us for so long, is almost going to extinct unless some of us don't do something about it, right? While we are on digital, but believe me, it's doing still soul searching, because it's still trying to find out, how do I reach the last customer? Now, talking about extinction, how many of you are very passionate about what they do? Please raise your hands. All right, I don't think it's strong enough. How many of you are actually very passionate? If you are, then say hi. Hi. Fantastic, right? So this is what it is. And somebody really told that, this is a very interesting quote. They said that you actually live twice. Once when you're actually born, and the second time is when you know why you were born for. And we all have taken birth for some reason. And the reason should be very powerful. And ladies and gentlemen, something very interesting is that even businesses need to take birth because of passion. Because they say that if businesses don't have passion, they cannot survive the time of change. They will die. I'm going back to the story. It survived because you all were passionate about what you did. And irrespective of whatever happened, you wanted the most passionate person to come and work for you. And that's why it worked. And this is the idea that we have been working for a very long time. It's been many, many months, and it's almost a year in completion. We have been trying to find out what really works for people. And we understood the secret actually lies in passion. That's the most important thing. And what we have discovered is we work on your passion, and that's the sort of business that we are getting into. It's your passion, it's not ours. And ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce you to the 4 universes of this passion. Very interesting, and I'm sure all of you are there in those universes, right? And the first universe is, it's called the sound of engine. A little poetic, but then when you hear about sound of engine, what do you hear of? Any idea? All right, it's not very far, and I'm sure all of you love that. And that's this: the cars, the bikes, the speedboats, the Ferraris, the Mustangs, you name it, the 4x4. I mean, Oman has, somebody was talking to me about tourism. Do you know that this country has one of the world's best resources, right? And this is full of it. You would see, and I'm passionate, that's why you have, I love biking, I'm a biker, and some of my friends are here who are bikers. The second universe is about extremists. Now, when I talk about extremists, these are the people who are extremely passionate. Sometimes you say them, they're off the mind, and they love jumping from the cliffs. And do you know that Oman actually hosts the world's highest diving competition? It happens here in Oman. And that's what happens here. I mean, imagine there are so many of us who have these different souls in us. We are very passionate about what we do. And the third is something called as bedazzled. And how many of you love to sing? Can you raise your hands, please? And I'm not going to ask you to sing anyway. But how many of you love to dance? Love, paint, brush, name it, and it's all here. If you actually go into your soul, you say there's something that's going to dazzle the whole world, and that's called the bedazzled. And finally, come on, Kurat al-Qadam, this is where we are. Oman just won the Gulf. Is it right? They won something very big last time. And the whole world is very passionate about these, and that's the sport of life. And all the life, the passion of life, the sports, they are all coming together. Now, can you imagine something? What we are trying to do is we have brought the entire universe, which is so large, into one system. And that's why it took us so long to actually build it, right? The 4 universes that we all live in every day. And it's time that we need to do something a little different, right? We need to think local. It's so important. And how do we need to think local? Is because, believe me, these 4 universes are very large. And if only I could connect with your business, and I could connect with your business, and I could connect with you as individual, if I can bring all of you together, that's what I'm talking about, is creating ecosystems. And what we have done is we have created an ecosystem. That's going to ensure that we bring in the customers and bring in revenue models for all of you. So very quickly, this obviously we have created a platform which is more online. It has to be humongous. It has to be huge. And it's not two-sided, but it is actually four-sided. It's a quadrilateral system that actually would ensure that the businesses run. Number two, you would orchestrate on what sort of businesses you would want to do and what sort of customer you would want them to come to you. If you want some sort of customers to come to you, they would come. And that's what you are doing. And that's what we have built. And finally, we all will collaborate. You know why? We would start working on people's passion. We will engage them. We will entertain them. And we'll excite them. You know, the beauty is, we all are working. Am I right? We all work. But why do we work? Is it for the work or is it for the pleasure? Something interesting. And also something interesting is the whole industry that's there, it's actually for the pleasure. Whatever you make, whichever car you drive, whatever you're doing now, it's for the pleasure, right? And that's what this is all about. And let me introduce you. Don't get overwhelmed. We're going to make it very small. Obviously, if you're going to connect the entire universe, it has to be pretty robust. And this is what it is. It's called the Set High Wheel. And to quickly tell you that, imagine if we have to connect with you. Somebody once told, how many of you know the pharmaceutical companies, how they work on? Very interestingly, is the highest value of a pharma company is high. You know why? Because the company keeps on repeating, the customer keeps on repeating, and he comes again and again and again. You know why? From before the birth of a child, you take a pill. And till the death, you still take a pill. You keep on eating your medicines, right? And that's what the engagement is all about. And what we are doing is we are trying to create a full lifetime engagement. Now tell me, are your children running somewhere? Are they singing? Are they part of some competition? Yes, they are. So are mine, right? And am I doing it? Yes, I do. And I was astonished to find out that there were grandparents who were actually doing morning walks. So that's a sort of engagement. Number two, what's critical is, can your product psychologically motivate me? You can have everything in the world, but if you do not have reasons and purposes, customers will never come to you. Wallahi, write it somewhere, and that's what it is. I have seen people opening up restaurants, everything else, but people don't come, right? And imagine if a system knows about you and about your DNA, right? And this is what it's all about. It's about DNA. And finally, the entire thing is built on gamification. Not here, the real time, right? So this is what the wheel is all about. But obviously, I just told you about the customer. But what is more critical is we need to build the entire ecosystem. And to create ecosystems, we as businessmen and engineers, do you know that creating infrastructure is not simple for the entire country, is it? So what we're doing is we're actually digitally and physically connecting. It means not only here, but we are working on cafes and stores and other mortar and bricks real-time places where we can connect them together. And then because we are connecting multiple industries together, we are trying to build mutually a value proposition. And just imagine if all of us can create value propositions for the customer, that the customers would come. Is it true? I don't think so. The second thing is that if you and I need to connect, we need to synergize, which means that what you are good at and what you're good at and what I'm good at, just imagine if all the goods come together, right? What have you created? We have created a customer experience. When I come to you, I know that I'm going to really enjoy this. And then, there's a very nice saying is that when does the sale happen, really? The sale happens when the customer is most receptive to your idea. And all of this together is creating customers to actually buy. And then what we do is, together, we start bringing in people to your shops, to your businesses, to your stores. And that's what the business is all about, okay? And it's not, you cannot treat everybody equally, because some people love masses and some people love classes. The rich would love to be there. The guys who are in masses, they would love to come together, and that's what this is all about. And second is, you have seen the 4 universes, and there are over 300 subclusters, and each of the cluster has hundreds and thousands of people in that cluster. And every time you would want to bring somebody from that cluster, we have events to drive. And finally, what really happens is the world has changed. The customer is the center point. Can you imagine all of us working for whom? For that customer. So ladies and gentlemen, it's time that we all work together as a community. It's important, right? There is a system we have, but that's fine. We don't have, that's different. But there is a way, and we need to start looking at future and formulating your strategies today, so that we start connecting markets together, and we start connecting people together, and finally, we revive economies. With this, I thank all of you. So with this, just want to ask a question. Have you said hi to life lately? Thank you so much.